I'm Joa Howard Taylor, the Vice President of Liberia. I'm having such an amazing time reading to our audience. Today, we'll be reading a book by a Liberian author called Lorriane Sherman Mason. In fact, she's written many other books. But we'll look at a book that cuts into the heart of our society. And this book asks a very simple question. Who will speak for me? A young girl asking who speaks for her. The young girl asked, who will speak for me? And the neighbor answered, I will speak for you. When men who like little girls, like me, are the same ones who are family members, who are neighbors, who are teachers and schoolmates. Who will speak when I am abused? The mother says, I'll guard and protect my child against all harm. And so the mother speaks for the baby. And the young lady still asks, who will speak for me? When walking down the street or playing in my neighborhood, can I be safe? When men look at me like they want to undress me with their eyes, who protects me? And so as I walk, I have to keep a watchful eye, said the young woman on the street. But you can talk about this. You can tell those who care about you if you are having problems, for they can indeed handle it. But she's still asking, because there are many things that happen as people walk around the streets, go to school, and engage other community members. She still asks, who will speak for me? When strangers pretend they want to buy goods I sell, but they have a different intention, and they want to do bad things to me instead, as I sell things that are important, who will speak for me? Young girls must remember, as they sell on the streets, that they have to take their goods to a place where everyone will see them. Don't follow anyone into their homes, or into an alleyway, or closed spaces. Or don't let someone say, come into my office to get paid for your goods. Again, we're talking about safety. So make sure as you're selling, you're doing it in a public space that everyone will see. And so if someone wants to buy and tells you, bring everything you have, I'll pay for it. Just come to my office, right upstairs. And you're worried about what will happen to you. Again, she cries, who will speak for me? But that is on the street. There is also fear in some homes. When you have a family member who holds you in a way that is not right, and you don't feel comfortable, and when they hug you in that way, you feel that something is wrong and you kind of wiggle in your skin. And no one's looking. and it's wrong. But who will speak for you? When you tell your mother that a family member has touched you in a way that is uncomfortable, who will speak for you? I'll speak for you because I believe you when you tell me, my child, the mother says. But if something happens and I tell my mom or my dad, what if they tell me, this is not a good thing, don't tell anyone, it will ruin our family, and this is a household matter, don't tell anyone? Who will speak for me? Then the social worker comes in. She says, I promise to speak for you by looking out for your best interests. The social worker is not a mom, she's not a dad, she's someone in the community who looks at bad things that happen to young children, boys and girls. So the social worker works in the community and she's looking out for your best interests. And so she steps up and says, if you tell me what's going on, I will speak for you. But sometimes the young girl asks, when my mom and dad accept money or agree to keep it a secret to protect the person who has done me some harm, and that harm could be rape, it could be sexual molestation, it could be mental molestation. All of those things are harmful. It can happen in the home, it can happen in the community, it could happen even at school. And there are times when parents or caregivers will take money and say, oh, don't tell anyone. This is what women feel. It will be okay. So the young girl asks in her mind, who will speak for me? Are there family members or neighbors or friends who could speak out on my behalf? She continues to ask, who will speak for me? If something happens and someone is raped or abused and they end up in the hospital, how do people treat me? Again, she asks, who will speak for me? When I get to the hospital and everyone looks at me like I am the one who has done something wrong. In the hospitals, hopefully, there are nurses and doctors and staff members who will treat me kindly and find out what has happened, and that they will agree to speak for her. But she's still asking, in those difficult circumstances, when you have been injured so deeply that sometimes you can't even explain, the one question on the child's mind is always, who will speak for me? After she had been raped or molested and taken to the hospital, some people look at her as if she was the cause of the injury. And the nurses treat her as if she had done something wrong, instead of looking at the perpetrator who has injured a child. Even as she tries to recover from her injuries, everyone keeps saying, oh, she is the girl that was molested, or she is the girl that was raped. At that point, am I no longer a person? Because when they speak around me while I'm in the hospital, my name isn't called. All they say is, she is the one who was injured. Are there community members who speak on her behalf? Community members should know that they are more than what happened to you, said the family. We all should speak for you and keep you safe. This book talks about young people who are injured. And the injury can be done many ways. Maybe you live in a home and you've done something wrong and they go to punish you, and they punish you to the extreme. Okay, a child steals a loaf of bread and you take his hands and put it in the hot frying oil. That is an injury that needs someone to speak up for. The mother who's put the child's hand in the oil will never report this case. They will take a member of the community, maybe the social worker, or someone in that home to say this child has been injured and it was too much. Who speaks for that child? There are other instances where people are raped. And rape is usually done or perpetrated on girls. But there are also young boys that are being sodomized in our communities. That is now becoming more prevalent than rape. Adults, family members, community members, maybe strangers are sodomizing little boys. And sometimes they come home and they are so afraid to tell anyone because in their minds they think that they are responsible. But children from 0 to 21 years old should be cared for, should be comforted, and should be secured. Guess what? This injury most often takes place right in the home. There are stepfathers that are raping their stepdaughters. Who does that child go to? First thing you think, well, maybe I did something to make this happen to me. The fact is that children should be protected from all danger and all harm. At the beginning of this book, we saw a mother holding a child tightly, a baby. And all she does as a mother is protect that child from any harm. When the child starts to walk and they try to go towards the fire, the mother would drop everything and move them away from that fire and move them away from every form of danger. But somehow as young girls get older, 12 and 13, and sometimes people rape even babies. This is a menace in our society, and we must find a way to deal with it. So this book speaks to the heart of abuse in our families, amongst our family members, in our communities, with community leaders, and sometimes with strangers. There are little girls that are out on the street selling things to provide some form of income for the family. And someone will say, oh, your peanuts look very good. Follow me to my office and I'll pay for all of it. Of course, in innocence, the little girl might run up the stairs and carry the platter of peanuts and the man might buy it. But it's just to draw her into a situation where she could get harmed. But there will be other people in that office looking and seeing that there's something about to happen. Who speaks for our children when they're not in our eyesight or in our confines or around our environment? This question goes to everyone, Whether you're a social worker, whether you're a community leader, whether you're even the mother next door, and you see little girls going into a house of a single man, you should inquire, because you are responsible. When I grew up here in Monrovia, the community was quite different. Everyone was responsible for everyone's child. Today, that has disappeared, which has opened up the environment for more abuse. As I close on this book, all of you who are little children must remember, you have something inside of you. It's called the instinct. And when you are in danger, or when something bad is about to happen, first you will feel it. If you feel uncomfortable in any way, yell for help. Holler, help! So that someone can speak for you and maybe avert an injury that people live with, and it destroys their lives in the future. Today's reading is a question to our community, to our political and our civil society leaders, to our church leaders. They have church leaders who are abusing people in the choir and abusing the young people. It seems to be an environment of abuse. Each of you must answer this question. How do we stop it? We must raise our voice together so that we begin to speak on behalf of those who have been injured. Today's word is guard. G-U-A-R-D. Guard. Again, today's word is guard. G-U-A-R-D. What does it mean? It means to protect, to ensure that something is not broken or destroyed. And all of us as citizens must begin to guard the safety and the security of our children. There are cases where adult women are raped. But if we are guarding one another, looking out for one another, seeking the interests of one another, loving one another, our world could be a better place. Thank you for this time of reading and interacting with you.
A message from the Case Educational and Engagement Project. Keep